Stop scrolling for a second. Let me ask you something real. How many times have you wanted to go all in on your dream, but something inside you whispered, "What if I fail?" How many opportunities did you walk away from, not because you couldn't do it, but because you doubted yourself before you even tried? That voice in your head that tells you to wait, to play small, to stay comfortable, that voice is not protecting you, it's controlling you. And today I'm going to show you where that voice really came from, why it keeps holding you back, and how to break free from it for good. This isn't just another motivational talk. This might be the message that changes how you see yourself forever. Stay with me till the end, because what you're about to hear could be the turning point between the life you're living and the life you know you were meant to live. Self-doubt is not something you are born with. It is something you are conditioned to develop over time through repeated experiences, messages, and emotional reactions to the world around you. As a child, your natural state was curiosity, courage, and belief in possibility. But as you grew older, the environment began to shape your perception of what is safe, acceptable, and realistic. And this shaping did not come from a single moment, but from countless small interactions that slowly trained your mind. Every time you were discouraged from trying something new, corrected harshly for making a mistake, compared to others, or told to lower your expectations, your subconscious recorded those moments as evidence about who you are and what you can do. Over time, these experiences formed mental patterns that began to operate automatically, creating a habit of hesitation before action and caution before ambition. The mind learns through repetition, and when it repeatedly encounters criticism, disappointment, or emotional pain linked to effort, it begins to associate striving with danger and embarrassment rather than growth and discovery. This is how doubt becomes learned behavior instead of a natural instinct, because the mind is always seeking to protect you from perceived threats, even when those threats are only emotional discomfort or the possibility of failure. The people you grew up around, the tone of authority figures, the expectations placed upon you, and the social rules you absorbed all played a role in shaping how you evaluate yourself before you even take a step forward. Over time, these external voices become internal, and what once came from parents, teachers, or peers turns into your own inner dialogue, speaking with their tone, their limits, and their fears. This internalized voice feels personal, but it is largely borrowed, built from patterns you did not consciously choose, and reinforced by memories that your mind replays whenever you stand at the edge of growth. When you hesitate, procrastinate, or shrink your goals, it is often not because you lack ability, but because your mind has learned to associate boldness with risk and risk with emotional pain. This conditioning can be so subtle that it feels like common sense rather than training, yet it is simply a collection of learned reactions that can be unlearned through awareness, repetition of courageous action, and the conscious choice to question the limits that were placed on you before you ever had the power to choose them for yourself. Fear of failure often becomes stronger than the desire for success, because the human mind is wired to avoid pain more urgently than it seeks pleasure. And over time, this natural tendency can quietly dominate your decisions without you realizing it. Early experiences of embarrassment, rejection, or disappointment leave emotional imprints that feel heavier than moments of praise or achievement, and the mind stores these negative experiences as warnings for the future. When you think about taking a risk, starting something new, or stepping into a bigger version of yourself, your imagination does not just picture success, it also replays the emotional cost of failing, the judgment of others, and the discomfort of not meeting expectations. As these mental images grow stronger, the pain of possible failure begins to feel more real and immediate than the joy of potential success, even though success could transform your life in ways you cannot fully predict. Over time, this imbalance trains you to prioritize emotional safety over growth, causing you to delay action, lower your goals, or convince yourself that the opportunity is not meant for you. The desire for success remains present, but it becomes muted by the louder voice of fear that constantly asks what might go wrong instead of what could go right. This fear is not rooted in logic alone, it is fueled by identity, because failure feels like proof that you are not enough, rather than simply feedback about a process that can be improved. As a result, many people unconsciously protect their self-image by not fully trying, so that if they fail, they can tell themselves it did not really count, creating a cycle where effort is limited to avoid emotional exposure. The more often you avoid situations where failure is possible, the more powerful the fear becomes, because the mind never receives evidence that it can survive discomfort and recover from setbacks. In this way, fear grows through avoidance, while confidence grows only through engagement with challenge. Yet the comfort of staying within familiar limits can feel deceptively wise even when it slowly shrinks your sense of what is possible. This pattern shapes habits of playing small, choosing certainty over opportunity, and mistaking caution for intelligence, while the deeper truth is that the desire for success cannot fully express itself until you are willing to accept the temporary discomfort of failure as part of the price of meaningful progress. Your inner voice is not something you created from scratch. It was shaped gradually by the tone, language, and emotional patterns you absorbed from the people and situations around you during your most impressionable years, and those early influences continue to echo inside your mind long after the original moments have passed. When authority figures criticized you, dismissed your ideas, or only acknowledged you when you met certain standards, your mind learned to associate worth with approval and to measure yourself through external reactions. Over time, these experiences formed an internal narrator that repeats familiar judgments before you even take action, warning you about embarrassment, rejection, or not being good enough. This voice can sound like your own thoughts, but much of its language, attitude, and limits were borrowed from past interactions, especially moments when you felt small, misunderstood, or unseen. Each repeated criticism, whether spoken directly or implied through neglect and comparison, carved pathways in your thinking that made self-judgment feel normal and caution feel wise. The mind is a pattern-making machine, and when it observes that speaking up led to ridicule or trying hard led to disappointment, it begins to predict the same outcomes in the future, creating an inner dialogue that aims to protect you by discouraging risk. Over time, this protective mechanism becomes so familiar that it blends into your identity, and you begin to mistake conditioned self-talk for truth rather than habit. The emotional memory attached to past criticism can resurface in moments of opportunity, causing hesitation that feels logical even when the present situation is different from the past, because the mind responds more to remembered emotion than to current reality. As this pattern continues, your inner voice may adopt a harsh or doubtful tone, questioning your readiness, minimizing your progress, and amplifying small mistakes into proof of limitation, reinforcing the belief that you are not yet prepared to move forward. This process happens quietly, without conscious choice, yet it shapes your confidence more powerfully than many external obstacles, because the constant presence of an internal critic influences how boldly you think, how decisively you act, and how generously you interpret your own efforts. Recognizing that this inner voice is learned rather than innate opens the door to changing it. Because when you understand that many of your doubts are echoes of old judgments rather than accurate reflections of your potential, you gain the ability to interrupt those patterns by choosing new interpretations and responses to the challenges in front of you. Lack of clear purpose weakens confidence, because when you do not know what you are moving toward, every obstacle feels heavier and every decision feels uncertain, creating mental friction that slowly erodes belief in yourself. Purpose acts like an internal compass, giving direction to effort and meaning to struggle. And without it, your actions can feel scattered, reactive, and easily disrupted by outside opinions or temporary emotions. When your goals are vague or borrowed from others, your motivation fluctuates. And this inconsistency teaches your mind to doubt your own commitment, making you question whether you are truly capable of seeing things through. In the absence of a defined aim, progress becomes difficult to measure, so small wins go unnoticed and setbacks feel larger than they are, creating the impression that you are not moving forward even when you are learning and growing. This lack of visible progress weakens self-trust, because confidence is built through evidence of forward motion, and without a clear direction, that evidence becomes blurry and easy to dismiss. Purpose also anchors identity, giving you a sense of who you are becoming, and when that image is unclear, your self-concept remains unstable, making you more vulnerable to comparison and external validation. As a result, other people's opinions begin to carry more weight than your own judgment, and your confidence rises or falls based on feedback rather than internal conviction. Without purpose, your efforts can feel like random bursts of energy rather than a focused path, and inconsistency slowly teaches the mind that it cannot rely on you to follow through, which weakens self-belief at a deeper level. Over time, this pattern conditions hesitation before commitment, because your mind anticipates uncertainty and questions whether any action is worth sustained effort. A clear purpose does not eliminate doubt, but it gives doubt a direction to move within, transforming uncertainty into momentum instead of paralysis. When you define what you are aiming for and why it matters to you, each action gains context, and even setbacks become information rather than proof of inability, which strengthens confidence by linking effort to a meaningful trajectory rather than isolated outcomes. Repeated inaction trains your mind to doubt because the brain learns more from what you do consistently than from what you intend occasionally, and when intention is not followed by movement, the subconscious begins to associate your ideas with delay and your goals with disappointment. Each time you tell yourself you will start tomorrow, speak up later, or take action when you feel more ready, your mind records a small moment of broken trust, and over time these moments accumulate into a quiet belief that your words do not lead to results. This pattern weakens self-confidence, not because you lack potential, but because confidence is built through evidence of follow-through, and repeated inaction provides the opposite evidence. The mind uses past behavior to predict future outcomes. So when you hesitate again and again, it learns to expect hesitation, creating an internal narrative that says you are the kind of person who plans but does not execute. As this expectation strengthens, motivation decreases because the brain naturally avoids investing energy in outcomes it believes will not happen. In this way, inaction becomes self-reinforcing, making it harder to begin, even when the desire to change is strong. Over time, the emotional discomfort of starting can feel larger than the discomfort of staying the same, not because the challenge is truly overwhelming, but because the habit of delay has grown familiar and emotionally safe. Each missed opportunity subtly reinforces doubt by suggesting that action is risky or pointless, while waiting feels protective, even though it quietly erodes belief in your ability to influence your own life. This conditioning can be so subtle that it feels like a personality trait rather than a learned response, leading you to label yourself as lazy, unmotivated, or inconsistent, when in reality your mind has simply learned to expect non-action as the default. The longer this pattern continues, the more your sense of agency weakens, because the connection between decision and outcome becomes blurred in your experience. Confidence grows when the mind sees proof that intention leads to movement and movement leads to learning, but repeated inaction breaks this link, training the brain to doubt not just the goal, but your own capacity to move toward it, shaping a self-image built on hesitation rather than momentum. Your environment and the people around you quietly shape what you believe about yourself because the human mind absorbs norms, attitudes, and expectations from repeated exposure long before it consciously evaluates them. When you are surrounded by individuals who speak in limits, focus on problems, or dismiss ambition as unrealistic, those perspectives begin to feel normal, even reasonable, and your own thinking gradually aligns with the emotional tone of your surroundings. Over time, the language you hear becomes the language you use inside your head, and the standards others live by become the standards you unconsciously apply to yourself. If the environment rewards comfort, routine, and minimal risk, your mind learns to associate safety with staying small and to interpret bold action as unnecessary danger. This influence does not require direct discouragement. It can come from subtle cues such as what people celebrate, what they criticize, and what they quietly accept as just how life is. The brain is designed to belong, so it adapts its beliefs to fit the group, because fitting in once meant survival, and this ancient wiring still guides modern behavior in social settings. As a result, your belief system can be shaped more by social gravity than by personal vision, pulling your expectations down to match the average level of ambition around you. When those around you normalize doubt, procrastination, or self-limiting stories, your mind begins to mirror those patterns, not because you agree with them consciously, but because repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity feels safe. This social conditioning can blur the line between your true desires and the expectations of your environment, causing you to question goals that do not align with the group's comfort zone. Over time, this mismatch creates internal conflict, where your deeper aspirations feel risky not because they are unrealistic, but because they challenge the emotional norms of your surroundings. The more time you spend in environments that reinforce limitation, the more your confidence is shaped by what feels socially acceptable rather than by what is personally meaningful, gradually narrowing your sense of what is possible and making self-doubt feel like a reasonable response to ambition. The real reason you doubt yourself is not because you are broken, weak, or incapable. Your doubt was built over time by fear of failure, by voices from the past, by unclear direction, by hesitation, and by the environment around you. None of these are permanent. What was learned can be unlearned. The moment you become aware of what shaped your doubt, you take back control. Your confidence grows every time you choose action over delay, purpose over confusion, and belief over old conditioning. You are not here to live small. You are here to grow, to build, and to become more than yesterday. Good luck on your journey. Stay disciplined, stay focused, stay hungry for growth. Thank you for watching. If this message helped you, follow this channel for more motivation and mindset power.